We'll start with our arms, start to get those shoulders nice and warm. Feel it back into your lats, just doing small circles here. And we'll go the other way. Good, and then as we start to feel warm with those, we can work into just one arm. Nice big circles. We start really thinking about our core here, that core engagement through all of our exercises. And switch directions. We're trying to get a nice full circle, as big as we can here. Each arm, each direction. Good, we'll switch arms. Same deal, nice big circle. You might feel a little bit locked up at first, but hopefully as we get going, you'll start to feel you can move through more of a full range of motion and switch directions. Good. And when you feel set with those, we'll push ourselves up off that chair, and we're going to start with our hip hinges. So we're going to have our feet shoulder width apart here as comfortably as you can. Weight goes in your heels, and we're just pushing our butt to that back wall, finding length in our hamstrings. And then at the bottom, we're going to think about squeezing those hamstrings, pulling them up, squeezing our glutes at the top. And we're going back and forth here a couple of times, keeping that back nice and flat, trying to create distance from our tailbone out through the crown of our head. Going a little bit farther each time. We're feeling the back of our legs start to loosen up. We'll stay here for about 3 more. And then if you need your chair for bodyweight squats, you can definitely put it under you to feel a little bit more stable. If not, you can obviously step out in front of it. But we're just gonna do our bodyweight squats. So again, feet are shoulder width apart. I want you to think about the weight loading in your heels, and we just lower, try to get those thighs parallel to the ground, and then push against the ground to stand yourself back up. You can use that chair even to tap and come up, just as a little physical cue for how low we should be getting. Again, at the top, our hips are going into extension. We're squeezing our glutes. Excellent. I'm going to give you a couple minutes, like it'll probably be like a minute and a half, to do a little extra warming up wherever you may need it while I explain these exercises, okay? So the first one is forward backward lunges, and you can of course use your chair as stability, but all we're going to do is stand next to our chair, and with our outside leg we're going to step forward, lunge as far as is comfortable, being sure that this front knee doesn't shift over your toe. We keep our core engaged, shoulders pulled back. Then we're gonna push off that foot, and the same leg is gonna go behind us. So we're just treating this leg like a pendulum, going back and forth, lunging. That's gonna be our first exercise, okay? Then we're gonna do a hinge bent over row. So we're gonna start using our weights. We're gonna put our right leg forward, and then incorporating that hinge we just warmed up, we're pushing through our heels, chest stays big, weights go down by our sides, and we're just rowing. Weights with elbows close to our rib cage, back and forth, back and forth. Then we have just a little bit of cardio with our lateral steps. So take these where you need them, but we're we're just gonna be stepping back and forth. If you can do it, you can touch the ground. That's gonna force you to stay a little bit more on your legs. You can obviously control your tempo back and forth there. Then the last standing exercise is gonna be squat to calf raise. So you can do this behind your chair again if you need stability, but all we're gonna do is that body weight squat. So we squat, weight in our heels, and we stand, and as we stand up, we're gonna come into our calf raise. So that's gonna, again, make us fire calves, hamstrings, glutes, squeeze, back down, squat to calf raise. We'll be there. Then we can sit down, and we're gonna put both weights in our hands for weighted side crunch. So what we're gonna do is really think about firing those obliques here, holding those weights heavy in our hand. We're gonna squeeze, really squeezing those obliques, trying to bring that shoulder down to your hip. Squeeze opposite way, shoulder stays back the whole time. So we'll just be alternating there. Then we're gonna do Arnold press. So for this one, we'll again have both weights. Palms start by facing you, and we're gonna press those weights up and away, and as you do that, your palms are gonna face out. Then as we return down, we'll rotate, palms end up facing your chest. We're back and forth there. And then our last exercise is tricep extensions. So we'll be sitting up nice and tall in our chair, holding the ear of one of our weights and just extending, lifting that into the ceiling. So we have 5 rounds. Each round has those exercises, especially this first round is gonna seem like it's gonna go really, really fast because it's just 15 seconds of each exercise, but you can just start to get comfortable with each movement, and then especially the second, third, fourth round, we'll try to increase our tempo and increase our reps, okay? So we're starting with those forward backward lunges. We're just gonna be moving our right leg this time. So we'll be standing to the right of the chair, and we're just going right leg here. And so this is where I'll cue you a little bit to help with what leg we're using, but just 15 seconds of each exercise, okay? So to the side of the chair, let's start. We're just going forward, backward, treating this like a pendulum. Core stays engaged. We only have 5 more seconds. Good. Now grab your weights. We're in that split stance, hinged at our hips. Weights come by our side, and we row them. So we're gonna try and be cognizant during this exercise to just switch our legs, but we're not really focused on working out our legs in this exercise. Good, weights down. We have those lateral steps here. So take them where you need them. You can increase your tempo. You can touch the ground. Both are very good options to get that heart rate up a little bit, but please only do what those knees, hips, ankles, and back can handle, okay? Behind our chair we go. Squat to calf raises. I know this first round seems a little chaotic, but the next 2 rounds, 3 rounds will feel better and slow down. Good, sit in our chair. Weights in hand. You may feel a little bit better range of motion on the edge of your chair here. Shoulders stay pulled back as we crunch side to side here. Thinking about squeezing our obliques. We're not just tilting our head, but we're feeling the resistance of those weights. Good. Now we curl the weights up, palms face us. Press, palms go away. Return down. Press, palms go away. Return down. Press, palms go away. Return down. And put one weight down for tricep extensions here. Feeling the back of those arms burn. Lowering that So your forearms at least get parallel to the ceiling. Good, and relax. So that's the first round. Obviously, it felt very clustered. Only 15 seconds of each movement. But now we're gonna amp that up to 30 seconds of each movement. And we'll feel a little bit more kind of stuck in the movement, but that's good. We're gonna start to feel an increase in reps, okay? So, with that being said, we're now to the left side of the chair. Left leg goes forward, backward, okay? Let's start. Forward, swings backward, forward, swings backward. Core is engaged, belly button in. Using this chair only how you need it. Maybe that's just your fingertips. Maybe your hand is just floating over it. Just having comfort knowing that it's under you. Here for 5 more seconds, and we grab our weights for those hinge bent over rows. Here we go. Left leg forward, split stance, hinge, pull elbows in tight. Try to keep your head in a nice neutral position. Slight bend in your knees. Stay in this for about 10 more seconds. You're gonna feel a little bit in your hamstrings just because of how we're hinged. But remember, we're thinking back here. Weights go down. We have our lateral steps. Intention here is to get that heart rate up just a little bit. And then once we have it up, we're gonna try to maintain that and keep it up. Stay with it. Last 10. And now we go into squat to calf raise. Again, option to use your chair if you need it. If not, we're controlling our body weight squat. And then at the top, coming in to a calf raise, really getting that posterior chain, so those glutes, hamstrings, calves, to start to fire for us. Last 5. Good. Now we take a seat. Weighted side crunches. Remember, weights down by your side, shoulders pulled back, and we just go back and forth, being very attentive to the part of our body that we're engaging and squeezing to lower that weight. We're squeezing our obliques, our abs so hard that it's forcing us to lower that weight. And then we're fighting with the opposite side of those obliques to sit upright. Good. Curl those weights up. Press away, towards. What this Arnold press is doing is engaging all the muscles that make up that rotator cuff in the shoulder as we move it through that range of motion and press up. Excellent. Weight down. Tricep extensions. Last exercise here. Stay in it. We're there in 15 seconds. Last 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Excellent. Weights come down. Grab some water here. If you have a towel, you need it, towel off. Focus on some nice deep breaths. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Get that turnover of oxygen. We've got about another 30 seconds to a minute that we can recover here. And then we're back up for this long minute of work. So I'm going to switch you halfway through on the lunges on this one, but that's going to be the only thing that we should have to switch up, okay? So we'll do 30 seconds, little less than 30 seconds on each side, just on this long round. And then everything else, we're staying in it for 45 seconds, trying to control our consistency, our tempo, pace, and I just want you to focus on continuing to move, okay? So, again, we meet on the right of our chair. And we have those pendulum lunges. Right leg is the only one moving here. I want you to think about keeping your feet shoulder distance apart on these lunges. We're not walking a tightrope or anything, and that's going to help you with your balance. When you go forward, the weight's going to be in the ball of your foot, more towards your heel. You press against the ground, and when you go back, weight's all the way in your ball of your foot. Switch sides. Left foot now, forward, backward, forward, backward. Again, taking it where you need it with the chair. We're here for 10 more seconds. Then we have our hinge bent over rows. Good, grab those weights. Right leg forward. Hinge at your hips, slight bend at your knees. Elbows stay tight. Then weights come all the way down, creating length from your tailbone to the top of your head. We're about halfway through. Ten more seconds. And then we're into those lateral steps. Last 5, 3, 2, 1. Weights down. Stepping side to side. I really want you to think about elevating that heart rate here. It's only for 45 seconds. Remember that. This is really our only bit of cardio. So it's really your chance to push that heart rate up. So in these exercises after this, we can try and maintain that level of work. We're halfway through. If it's too much on your back to bend over, you can just step back and forth. Good. To your chair if you need it. We have those squats to calf raises again. Trying to be explosive and in control of your body, especially up off this calf raise. I want you to think about thrusting yourself up, pushing your heels against the ground. And then all of that power, you create stability by squeezing glutes, calves, to hold that for a second at the top. 10 more seconds, then we're in our chairs. Good. Take a seat, weights in hand. We have our weighted side crunches. Shoulders pulled back and down. Squeeze. Return to the center. Squeeze. Return to center. We're back and forth here. Make sure here your shoulders aren't rounding forward. That's going to take your obliques away from the exercise. Continue to think about that good core engagement, pulling that belly button into your spine. We have 10 more seconds here, then we go into those Arnold press. Good. Curl those weights up, and we press and twist. Return down in control. Another great opportunity to work on the core stability. We know if that core is stable and strong, everything that stems off of it is stronger too. Push, exhale, inhale as we lower. In 10 seconds, we put one weight down, we're working our triceps. Good. One weight down, and extend overhead. Control it. Get those forearms parallel to the ground. Lower. Feeling the back of our arms burn here. This one will definitely feel fatiguing. Those triceps don't get a lot of love during the day, just day-to-day life, unless we spend our time doing a lot of carrying. Stay in it. This is our longest round. We have 10 more seconds. Good. Relax. Woo! Long round. Check it done. So now we start coming back down. So we go back into that 30-second range. So we're going to feel the transitions quicker. That may elevate our heart rate a little bit, but the focus is going to be, again, tempo and controlling our reps. So we're trying to keep that number even throughout and stay with whatever tempo you're moving at. And of course, just keep on moving. Quick drink of water. Then we're up, back to the right side of our chair. Last time we have these lunges on the right side before moving into the left. So get yourself comfortable. Remember, taking it where you need it. Let's start for 30 seconds. Hips stay forward on each movement. We're thinking about being powerful as we push off that moving leg to return to center. We're almost there, 5 seconds, and then we're in those hinge bent over rows. Good. Grab those weights. Left foot forward, hinge, weights down, row. Think about your mid-back being worked here. We're trying to squeeze a pencil between the bottom of our shoulder blades. I don't want you up in your traps. Stay in it. About 5 more seconds. Weights go down. We have our lateral steps. Push yourself. This is our second to last round of these. Increments should be feeling significantly smaller because they're getting there, but maybe fatigue is starting to set in. Work through that. We have 10 more seconds, and then We're in our squat to calf raises. Good. Take them where you need that chair of stability. If you think you can manage without, then do that. Remember, we're squeezing everything at the top. Our heels, our weight is all the way in our heels as we squat down, and then it transfers into the balls of our feet as we go up into that calf raise. Excellent. Take a seat, weight in each hand, weighted side bends, side crunches, shoulders back and down. It's not just your head that's lowering. You're really thinking about squeezing those obliques. You're going to feel it in your low back slightly. We're halfway through. Good. Comfortably curl those weights up, and we press, rotate. I want you to feel these weights heavy in your lats as you return down, working against gravity here to control the weights as they come down. You'll feel a little tricep work. Getting as much rotation in those shoulders as you can. One weight goes down, triceps. Pushing that straight up into the ceiling, giving an extra squeeze at the top. We're almost there. And then we just have that 15-second round, which will go by in a breeze. And relax, weights down. We're 4/5 of the way through this. Quick sip of water, and then we finish it out. This round is going to feel a little bit chaotic like that first round because we just have 15 seconds of work. But just because it's 15 seconds, I don't want you to not push yourself. You should be very comfortable with the movements now. And this really should be our best round. So let's hop up to the left of the chair. That left leg is going to be the one moving forward, backwards. And remember, this is going to go quickly. I'll cue you into what we're going into, okay? Let's start forward, backward, all the way lunging as far as comfortable. The front knee isn't shifting over the toes. Good, already done with those. Grab your weights and hinge at your hips, swipe in at your knees. Row, thinking mid-back here. Not really trapped. You shouldn't feel it in your neck. Head should be neutral, looking about 4 feet out in front of you. We're here for 5 more seconds. Good. Our little lateral step things. Here we go. Just 15 seconds. This is a breeze here. Right? As soon as you catch your tempo, we're going to move into squats to calf raises. We're there in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Squat, squeeze. Squat, squeeze. We're being explosive at the top. Good. We're here for 5 more seconds. That's it. Excellent. Into our chair we go. Weights in hand. And we're squeezing side to side again. Keep working. We have a little bit of Pilates after this, and then we are done. Good, put yourself center. Safely curl those weights up and press and twist. Working on that twist as much as comfortable. Good, one weight down. And tricep extensions. Last exercise right here. Work all the way through the time. For 5 more seconds. Good, relax. We are done with that first part. Take a drink of water if you need it. Make your way onto the ground as comfortably as you need to. You can get, of course, a yoga block, maybe a towel for behind your neck, any of those things. But we're just gonna do a little bit of Pilates, a little bit of core focused work, and then we will call it a day. So let's make our way to our back here, and we'll just warm up our breathing. So I want your feet into the ground. Legs can feel a little bit heavy, elbows, palms on the floor. As we start to settle in, I want you to think about length between your hips and shoulders, really through that full core. Palms on the ground, elbows on the ground. Start to feel that low back flatten onto the ground. And we'll just take some time here, focusing on inhaling through our nose and exhaling through our mouth. Now, as we do this, we obviously want to focus on that Pilates-based breathing. So we inhale, lift the pelvic floor, wrap the transverse, and squeeze that rib cage. Hold and exhale out through the mouth. And we'll just stay here for a bit, trying to build that tension, that heat in our core before we start to really dive in. Continuing to feel that low back flatten. Seeing if we can get a little bit more breath each time. Maybe wrap that transverse just a smidge tighter. Lift that pelvic floor. And once you feel comfortable in that breathing, we're going to put our hands behind our head and just lightly lift our head off the ground, enough to feel our lats really start to engage for us. Feel those obliques start to work. And we're going to hold this tension as we begin to work into our marches here. So just one leg at a time. I want you to think about squeezing your core, and that you can go right or left leg. We'll lift and lower in control. We inhale, lift the pelvic floor, wrap the transverse, close that rib cage. Exhale, lower. And we're just back and forth right here. Inhale, exhale, lower. Hands are just gently behind our head. Lats feel engaged. We feel really strong from those shoulders down to our hip bones. 360 core work here. If you feel you can, maybe you pick up your tempo while still trying to control that breathing. Core stays nice and tight here. We're not pulling from hip flexors. We're squeezing those obliques, our deep core muscles so hard that it's pulling our leg up off the ground. Those legs, when it's pulled up, should feel really heavy, but you're carrying the weight of that in your core. We'll go 2 more each way here. Continue to think about lat engagement. And when you finish those, rest your head down, maybe stretch those lats out a little bit, and let's reset ourselves here. Now we're gonna work in the glute bridges. So go a bit in the opposite direction than what we were just doing. So work to settle into your breath here. And this time as we inhale, we're thinking about squeezing so tight, again in that core, our hips lift off the ground. If you have a yoga block, this is a really awesome place to implement it. Put it between your knees. That's gonna keep those inner thighs firing for us. So we inhale, lift the pelvic floor, wrap the transverse, squeeze the bottom of that rib cage together, and we're squeezing so tight, our hips lift off the floor. We get as full into extension as we can while keeping that core engagement, and then we exhale in control, lowering back to the ground, getting so that low back is flat on the ground. Inhale, we repeat. Exhale, lower. Inhale, lift, pressing our full feet against the ground, but really squeezing that core. Exhale, lower. The tendency here is to really want to load our glutes. Obviously, this is a glute bridge, but we're drawing attention to the core here. Squeezing so hard, it's forcing us to lift that pelvis off the ground, but we're also keeping that form. We're keeping that transverse wrapped tight, tight, tight. We're only feeling like we're increasing our tension as we lift. We're here for 5 more. Big inhale. Exhale, lower. Resetting between each. Last 3. Last 2. And last one. Best form here. Excellent. Next, we're gonna move into dead bug here. I want you to take it where you need to. If you feel confident in kind of holding a weight over your chest to add just a little bit of resistance, then you can absolutely do that. If you maybe just want to move body weight, we can do that too. But what we're always going to start with is kind of that reset. So pushing that low back into the ground, creating length from our shoulders to our cores, down to our hips, 360 core. Inhale, we lift one leg in that march that we just did. Exhale, inhale, we lift the other. So now here we can lift our head, or great place to either put your arms up or hold the weight. And I want us to think about getting that nice kind of cross tension here as we lower one leg, one arm opposite. And we inhale, lower, exhale, lift. Remembering what we started with breathing here and staying in that. There's always the option to just move your legs here. Controlled movements. Thinking core, we're not using hip flexors here. Inhale, lower. We're going one more each way here. Wrap that or lift that pelvic floor. Wrap your transverse. As we finish our last one, and we return to center. Awesome. So we're just gonna hit all of that one more time here. So we have our marches, our glute bridges, and our dead bugs. So we're progressing. We'll start, I know we have that breathing down, but we'll start there again just to cue what we should be doing before we progress. So palms on the floor, creating distance from hips to shoulders. Inhale, lift the pelvic floor, wrap the transverse, squeeze the rib cage, belly button goes back towards your spine, and exhale out through the mouth. Inhale, exhale. One more. Excellent. We're gonna work into those marches. So hands behind head, slight crunch up, just enough to really feel the top of those abdominals get engaged. Elbows are pulled back. That's where we feel those lats start to fire for us. And we're alternating marches here. Great place to maybe pick up our tempo. We're comfortable with this movement here, but we're not losing form or breath. Stay in it. We've got 3 more. Each leg pulling obliques so intensely, it's lifting that leg. We're not using our hip flexors. We're out of them as much as we can be. Elbows stay pulled back to keep those lats engaged. One more each leg. Good. Rest your head down. Feet return flat on the floor. And we work into those glute bridges. Again, yoga block between the legs is an awesome little physical cue for you to hold resistance in those inner thighs and to lift that pelvic floor, squeeze those transverse, and lift that pelvis off the floor. Inhale, lift, exhale, resetting every time. That low back should be flat on the ground. Trying to get as full into extension as we can. We're in this for 4 more reps. Controlling your breathing, controlling your movement, being attentive to the purpose here. And last one. Excellent. Lower. And we reset. We put that low back into the ground. Hands behind your head. Taking this variation where you want, whether it's lowering hands too, maybe it's holding a weight over your chest. But we start to feel those lats engage below us, creating space between our shoulders and our pelvis. We inhale one at a time, our legs in the tabletop. And then we begin our dead bugs. Inhale, lower. Exhale, lift. Working those obliques again. In control. Low back should be flat on the ground. Each time we're lifting our pelvic floor, wrapping our transverse, squeezing that rib cage closed. The goal is obviously to hold that resistance between breaths, but it may take some time to work up to that. Stay with it. We'll go 2 more each leg here. Stay with your form. Stay with your breathing. Good, and when you finish that, return in good form. And before we call it a day, we're just gonna do a little bit more on our sides. So, as is comfortable, we're gonna end up on our side with that nice neutral spine. Legs are gonna be slightly out in front of us, and we're just gonna do one quick round of our lateral raises, thinking about oblique work on both sides here. So this oblique is working to hold us up. We're not sagging down. This top oblique is gonna work to squeeze our leg up as well into this lateral thigh and our glutes, okay? So neutral spine, legs out front, shoulders pulled back. We lift the pelvic floor, wrap our transverse, squeeze your ribs. We inhale that leg up, small movement, exhale, down. I want you, if you can, to think about pulling that toe towards your shin, and maybe it drops to the floor just a bit. We're here for 10 each way. Obliques continue to work throughout. I'm on 7. Don't let yourself sink down here. Remember, this is a small movement. Good, and when you're done with that, we'll transition to the other side. Set ourselves up the same, nice neutral spine. Distance from the crown of our head out through our tailbone. Legs out front, oblique engaged, lifting that hip off, pushing against our elbow. Toe points in and down towards the ground. For 10 on our opposite side. Shoulders stay pulled back. Keep that core engaged, that spine neutral, nice and straight. We're almost there. And this is the last one for me. Excellent. And we will call it a class on that. Hopefully that Pilates kind of cooled you down a little bit of an active recovery, but please, if you need more stretching, take it, especially